The next resident that's visiting us this evening is John Sturgus, who died in 1921. He was Anchorage's first police chief, and he was murdered while in office. We are reminded that today's news often repeats itself. John Sturgus, as portrayed by Bruce Kelly.
Thank you, Scarlett. I guess that stuff still happens today, eh? I'm John Sturgus. Folks call me Jack. I was the first police chief here in Anchorage, but it wasn't law enforcement that brought me to Alaska. No. It was gold. It was 1913. I was 53, and I wanted to get rich quick before I died. So I've been a police officer for many years down in Montana and Washington, but you don't get rich being a police officer in those states. So when I heard about the latest gold rush in Alaska, that one in Shoshana, I was on the next boat north and I never looked back. But when I got here, I quickly discovered that mining was a lot of hard work for not much gold. So by 1916, I'd quit mining, and I found myself in Anchorage looking for work. Well, they offered me a job as a deputy marshal. And the first case I had involved this guy, Dempsey. He had murdered a prostitute here in Anchorage, and he was on the run. Well, they tracked him down to Seward, and they moved in for the arrest, and, well, Dempsey shot and killed Deputy Marshal Isaac Hayes. Well, he was one of us. So I organized a posse, and we got our man. Dempsey was sentenced to hang, but that was later changed to a life sentence. But about that time, I met Anna. Now, Anna was a beautiful woman, not quite 30. She had just arrived from England, and she agreed to marry me. Well, I couldn't have been happier. But Anchorage was a violent and dangerous place in those days. The marshals were spread pretty thin, so the first mayor in Anchorage, this Leopold David, invited me to be the first police chief. My job was to get rid of what they called the evil three in those days: alcohol, gambling, and prostitution. They weren't supposed to exist inside the town limits. Anchorage was a dry town, under federal control, a railroad town. But it was a tall order, as all three flourished quite openly. Well, as a matter of fact, I was known to play a little poker myself, and they called me Blackjack, and well, you can't play poker very well if you don't have a drink or two, and but as for the third evil, no, I had a good wife. So they paid me $200 a month, not bad wages in those days, but I was it. There was no other officer, just me. And they gave me a gun and a badge, nothing else. If I had to get anywhere in a hurry, I had to take a taxi and pay for it myself. But it was a good year-round job in a town where finding work in the winter months was pretty tough. But so I teamed up with the marshals, and we busted up, a dozen moonshine operations and arrested some people for illegal alcohol, and well, I was enforcing the gambling laws, too. And that didn't sit very well with the pools halls people and that line 4th Avenue. You might say they didn't like me very much, but I was doing what the town said, clean the place up. But looking back on it, maybe they didn't want me to clean everything up. So I had some enemies. Well, I like to patrol the streets at night. That's when crime happens, and it was a cold, dark night in February 1921, and I heard this noise behind the drugstore on 4th and E Street, And I went back to investigate with my gun drawn, and suddenly somebody grabbed the gun from my hand, and I heard a shot, felt a flash of pain, and I was falling and hit the ground. Well, later somebody came by and saw me laying there, went off, thought I was a drunk, and went off to tell the chief of police. Well, imagine their surprise when they found out I was the chief of police. Well, I died later that night, only 2 months after my appointment, killed with my own gun. Well, at first they thought I'd committed suicide. Well, how could that be? I was shot in the back. But then they offered a reward of almost $2,000 for information leading to the arrest of my killer. But no one ever figured out who killed me or why. Was it a grudge? Had I just done my job a little too well? I don't know. It was dark. I heard the shot. I was falling, and that's all I remember.